Accept your death.
I usually use the start of this to have some sort of a funky anecdote or something about something weird that's happened recently, but we got a lot to go over today. It's been an entire year of Mortal Kombat 1, and we're getting into year 2. And we want to kind of go over everything that happened. Sometimes some of the things feel like a fever dream, like the desync thing. Did that really ever happen? It was so long ago.
Did it ever really? It's all in your imagination.
It's all in
Mass
your
gaslighting.
Mass gaslighting. Exactly. And speaking of that, we're not going to gaslight you. We're going to get right into the comments here. Starting with, this game is broken. Are you prepared for the Jax counterpick against Shujinko? Now that he can grab cameos and attack them, Shujinko is going to be his play food with how long he's just out charging. I think that's actually going to be something I have to be really cognizant of, playing against Jax now, and find different ways to charge Shujinko, like during combos and stuff like that, and not just throw him out on screen to randomly charge. But also, there are distances too. Like, if I can somehow get Shujinko behind me, I'll have to see how the Jax grab works. Because, yeah, he comes out kind of in the mid-screen. But if I can get, like, somehow Shujinko charging behind me or behind the opponent, like he can just run across the screen, I think. But you're right. I'll definitely have to be more cognizant of charging him, at least, against Jax. Which is always something like, if you get Jax and like Sindel, like between the push away cameo and then like the Jax cameo, it's like Shujinko's got no chance. He's toasted.
That is unfortunate. And other cameos too, like Serena is really exposed on the screen. I don't expect Janet to be affected because you can't hit her when she's out as the wall, right? But I think that even it used the way that they demonstrated it with the Jade Glaive on block, it makes that a risk where normally it's a plus on block advantageous situation, you know?
Yeah, it's like one of those. It's also one of those things too where like, I think it was you that mentioned it, that like you're not going to be able to break the whole time that, you know, Jax is hitting you, punching you forever. That would be really frustrating
and it
for
looked
me.
like they went on cooldown for a long time, or maybe just the regular cooldown. So not only is it out of play for the entire time it's being gotcha grabbed, you have the cameo cooldown that you normally do after it gets hit.
Yeah, so it's like a double trouble.
Really punishing. Yeah.
Should be pretty powerful. I need this update. I'm just killing time until Tuesday right now. It's
I think things are about to get really wild.
I cannot wait. So much to go over. Next comment here, Yetsky. I really need this shakeup. Playing random fighting games at the moment. Looking at other character designs to entertain myself. Yeah, I've actually went through. I don't even want to like really play the game like online or anything right now, because like I know that everything's going to change, so I don't really want to put too much time into it in the moment, if that makes sense.
Most of us have been playing secondary and even like third and fourth string characters, right? Like just experimenting and just kind of, who knows what's going to change about what character. So I know I've definitely been playing newer to me characters.
Yeah, I went through Melina with you the other day. You really helped me out, and I was playing with her, and I was having some fun with her and Shujinko. I don't think that's a pair that I'll stick with, but it was a fun little side project. And then I went through and I 100%ed every single Mesa, which is something I've never done before, and actually had a lot of fun doing it. There are some kind of fun survive nodes in this one that I wasn't really expecting. It's not just like try and get out of the way, you know? It's like you're trying to jump over the Roomba from Johnny Cage's stage like a billion times as it speeds up.
Oh, I remember that one, yeah. I was Natara, so I could float around and stuff for a lot of that. I was able to cheese that one pretty easily.
I did that as well. I was trying to do it as Lee May, and it was too tough, so I eventually just picked Homelander and then like jumped over it like 10 times and then just flew on the screen for the rest of it. Just total cheese.
No, that's the tech, man. I'm sure that's how they're intending people to get around it.
Yeah, because I keep forgetting that you're not 100% meant to go through it with every single character, so they want you to kind of experiment with characters in that particular mode is kind of what I've seen, especially since they force you into it in some nodes in particular. I actually had a lot of fun.
At least cameos, that's almost always one of the weekly goals, is to use 5 different cameos for the weekly quests or whatever that reward a skin.
Yeah, it's good. They're trying to get you to play the game in different aspects, and I'm all for that. But yeah, I've definitely been messing around with other things and even some other games as well. So
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the other characters and stuff. We got a couple segments lined up, but
it's
we'll
going to be a
talk in
good
more
one.
detail. Yeah.
Last comment here, CV442. The favorite to kick the bucket right now is Smoke. He hasn't really been shown in any of the trailers. I think the only thing we've seen of Smoke that I can remember is just his animality. I haven't really seen him much. It'll be interesting to see how he fits into the story with the whole Shira Ryu thing. It seems like it's going to be a pretty big focus on Scorpion, at least at the start.
They used him as the target or as the practice dummy for the noob combat cast. I thought they were going to show a smoke change, like sneak one in there, but nope. He was just the character they picked.
Just the dummy. Just the dummy.
Yep.
I think it would be cool if he had like
Smoke.
Some sort of like dark thing happen to him where he turns back into an Enra from MKX and he had like the dark smoke thing going on. That could be super cool. And it's an aspect.
Could you imagine? That would be cool.
He would be kind of like, yeah, I don't know, like a Revenant again, you know? But I don't know if that would be repeating.
There's a lot of speculation about Cyber Smoke, who we've seen in Invasions, right? He could be the hidden character Ed Boon was hinting at San Diego Comic-Con and that little press junket thing that he did.
That's true. That's true. He could be. I would, because he seems pretty fleshed out in Invasions. Like he has like the chest spear and all that kind of. It's not a very like.
It's more of a traditional, like a Triborg Smoke, a Cyborg Smoke versus what he is in this game, which is quite different. Like the only. I don't know. What do you think is the same besides some of the invisibility stuff? He's got like the smoke, kind of the smoke teleport, like his back forward 3, which is his cancel sort of thing. But it's not like, your trident spear smoke.
No, the spear looks like just Scorpion spear just coming out of his chest. It doesn't look very detailed. So we could see something a little bit more when it gets to it.
Yeah.
Sorry for kind of speed running the comments there. Just wanted to get to a lot of stuff today. And I do appreciate everyone commenting every week. It's cool to see, your legitimate questions and all that kind of stuff that comes up. But we're going to go into the combat cast first. We're not going to spend too much time on this because, there's been some noob stuff out for kind of ever, it seems, at least. But yeah, just in general, the combat cast, there was, I guess, the cameo changes first. There's still a lot of things that I didn't really catch that like I had to keep asking. Like I didn't understand what was going on in the Geras and the Omni-Man match there, but I think it was explained to me that their overheads are now launchers or something like that they weren't before.
Well, they get the little bounce. There's lots of strings in this game that give you a little bit of a pop-up, but you don't recover in time to do anything into it, or you can't like special cancel it. But a cameo could pick that up for you, right? Like Sonya or Mvado or whomever.
Right.
So they gave that to Geras' overhead. To both those characters, they both get that off their overhead. And they mentioned Omni-Man just can use, it's a meterless launcher in the corner. He can just convert himself. He doesn't need a cameo. Or Geras can spend the resources on, the 2 bars on the clone to convert off of his. Otherwise, he can use a cameo.
That's cool.
So he gets a little bit more reward for the risk. Dude, I'm not super familiar with Omni-Man, but poor Geras, even at like max range, right? That thing is like so negative. You have to use that very carefully. So it's good he gets a little bit more reward off of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't pretend to know like the first little thing about Geras other than kind of how to fight him. So I'm not sure if these are the changes that he really needed. I hope so for Geras players' sake, because I think he needed something. I mean, Gur's still out there winning stuff, but that's Gur. You're crazy, crazy good. But I think the character could use a little bit of help. One of the changes that was really, really interesting to me was Shang Tsung being able to now soul steal into the cameos. That
I know,
is
it
going
makes
to be
me want to
nuts.
play him. It makes me want to try him. I don't know why that's so appealing to me. I normally don't like stuff like that, but it looks so cool too. It's just so seamless.
It's such like the aesthetic of the character, like he can switch into his opponent and his opponent's cameos. And he's like all over the map, like
it's so cool. Like I'm excited. I hope they mentioned they gave him a double O string, a new string for old form as well, like
That's
forward
right.
3/4, I think it was, which is a low. So we'll see if that completes his.
I'm still a little skeptical. One thing that they said that I liked was that he only steals the same move from every cameo, so you don't have to like guess what move he's stealing. It's the same one every time. And then you can actually meter burn it too for extra things. So I wonder,
For a
like,
different version, right? So like the regular one is leg grab, and then if he EX it, he would get a different Sonya thing, or maybe like the reverse of that. I didn't notice whether he spent bar on that leg grab or not, but that seemed to be what they were alluding to.
I didn't either. I think they kind of mentioned that it's just a regular leg grab, and if you enhance it, it's a combo launcher. So maybe something like that.
And I think that's the same concept like you already experienced with Shujinko, like you were just talking about last week or the week before, that you already kind of know how to navigate against a new character, even if you haven't tried it, because the down forward versions of the steals and the down back versions, they do similar things, right? Like and the similar costs.
Yeah, so once you kind of learn all that stuff, it makes it a little bit easier to navigate around. It seems overwhelming at first, but like, man, I'm so excited to get back into Shang Shujinko now. Hoping to actually main the Deadly Alliance again, like I had planned to. We'll see what buffs, if any, Quan gets. He wasn't really mentioned at all, so I don't really know. I'm assuming they have something planned for him. I hope, maybe something.
That'd be cool. We'll talk about that a little bit later, like kind of like what we're anticipating from year 2 and what we're gonna try when it first drops and stuff. But
yeah, let's get into the meat potatoes.
To hear your thoughts on that. But yeah, like the noob stuff.
The noob stuff. Oh man, so I was really skeptical about noob at first because I was like, how can you redo them in like an original way where it's like new but like classic stuff, you know, same way that you would do any other character. And I was actually pretty impressed with like how you have to like manage this shadow kind of thing, similar to Zato from Guilty Gear, I guess. It seems pretty cool, not gonna lie. I'm a fan of how they did that there.
Well, Zato's like a negative edge sort of like thing. I don't think he'll be that sort of like puppet, but I understand what you mean, right? He's like an extension of you, and I like the way he can EX the projectile, the ghost ball, and it's almost just like an ambush, you know, just waiting, and then you mix them up and, you know, do whatever. I was worried about Noob because that very first trailer where they introduced the three new DLC characters, it's like, here's some swaggy Cyrax stuff, and here's some swaggy Sector stuff, and then here's Noob Saibot doing like a string into like one little dinky teleport. And it's like, okay, like, I don't know. I think he got the worst showcase. I think at the time he was probably the least developed. You know, maybe he just didn't have the animations, and they were
could
still
be
programming all of his stuff, you know?
Wasn't quite ready yet, you know, that kind of a thing. So
he looks really good, and especially in contrast to MK11, because he's kind of slow in MK11, and all of his shadow clones and stuff move so fast, like the shadow tackle and the slide, all the dive kicks and stuff. I'm afraid. His teleport's also improved. He doesn't go down, he goes up. So when he reacts to a teleport and when he reacts to a projectile and he tries to, you know, react accordingly with a teleport to punish you, he doesn't get hit by that projectile in the middle of the teleport like, you know, he used to. He goes up instead. So beautiful.
Pretty cool. Animations are good. Everything looks good. I did want to pick your brain on that Embrace Chaos move, because I remember that you were a little bit skeptical of it at first, and then your mind kind of changed when you saw it in action, or when they explained it in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, I didn't at first I was thinking it was going to be like a Johnny Cage star power sort of thing, right? Because I don't know where I picked it up from, but that he'd be canceling shadows into shadows into shadows, right? I kind of let him just cancel anything to each other, like there were shadows. But it looks like just anything that has a shadow in it turns into a launcher. So that may have been what they talked. So you launch them with that, and then you convert into another string that's got a shadow clone in it, and so you get another little launcher. How deep does that rabbit hole go, I wonder? But I don't. They explain that you're only without the shadow clone for the rest of the round, not the rest of the match. You can only use the ability once per match, but say you don't kill them before your install expires. By the next round, you have your shadow clones back, right? And once they kind of explained that, I was like, okay, I could actually. You really want to be closing out rounds with this, you know? But it's like you would use a fatal blow to close out a round, even to like take off, you know, 200 damage or something, right? Just sometimes you just want to sell it the round. I think it's going to be really, really good and not as gimmicky as it kind of sounded at the beginning.
I am looking forward to the day one noob Cybot players that just blow that rate at the start of the round and then just have nothing.
Yeah, it's like playing Street Fighter 6 and then, you know, they're out of drive gauge in like 2 interactions. They just blow their load all up front. And
then you're like, okay, party time. It always happens.
I'm really interested to see how he plays, how complete or incomplete his kit is without the clone, how his combos change or his pressure changes and stuff, how punishing it's going to be, or if you're just adapting. You're still a complete-ish character, but now your game plan might be a little bit different because you don't have that kind of range and all of your good buttons are basic buttons.
Yeah, like he's the slide instead of the clone being the slide. Like that's a big risk. Kind of.
That's really cool. So that was that setup they did on the Kombat cast. He did the EX Ghost Ball. So the Shadow Clone is holding the projectile. And then he just did the slide. Since the clone is holding the projectile, he wasn't there to do the slide. So New does the slide. It has the knockover animation like Sub-Zero's EX slide. And then he released the projectile and comboed from there. You know, not a great like mix or whatever, right? But just kind of showcasing like what you can do, the independent movement of the two, and there'll be ways to set it up. It's going to be nasty. I think Cyrax and Noob in particular. Cyrax is going to have her own set of fuckery or whatever, but I think the real technical sort of stuff, Cyrax and Noob are going to have more technical stuff.
I would say
a lot more variety of setups, a lot more flavor.
I would say out of the three, Cyrax is probably the one that I'm least hype about, you know?
I feel that way as well until I start thinking about her different teleports and that command grab. And we were talking a little bit before the podcast. I don't want to go too off topic here, but I think it's going to be a really good Frost team. Our good friend Patient Impulse pointed out that, you know, they just gave her the Frost Wall. Frost the Ambush, the Frost Wall right before they announced the DLC, and you know Cyrax has a wall jump. Wow, what a coincidence! And then I'm thinking they show that the EX Net doesn't go full corner carry. It's got a ton of corner carry. It's like playing Natara with Frost. Natara has so much corner carry. You need the wall sometimes, but not all the time. And I think Cyrax is going to have a lot of those situations. And when you know that it's that spacing, you pull out the ambush wall and get your EX net anyway. Stuff like that I think is going to be cool. That's stuff I'm going to try really early on.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to sink my teeth into Sector a little bit. But I don't know. I'm just excited to see some changes. We're at the end of year one now, so we kind of wanted to do a little bit of a rewind and kind of look at where things started, where our hype levels were, what we were excited about, and where we kind of ended up here. Long time ago, before this podcast was actually official, it was more just a conversation that Hader and I had about what characters we were the most hype for and the least hype for. And we went through the whole thing with everybody. I think is there a character missing, or was there just an extra slot there that we didn't know
there
about?
There was the extra slot, yeah. And this image is so old, it was before we even had the official Reiko render.
Oh, that's right.
It's just so that's like a crop from the trailer.
That's so funny.
That's why the lighting looks so weird, why his face looks so weird in that image.
We have, I'll have the image on screen here, just by the way, in case you're listening and you're doing something else, if you wanted to have a peek. And we're not going to go over the whole thing, but the ones that definitely stood out to me, like, I will say that Baraka was a big disappointment for me. I had him as like one of my most hyped characters, and I think I played him for 10 minutes. I was like, this is way too cut and dry. This is not fun at all.
Right, so 1 is the most anticipated. I'm trying day 1, you know, potential main stuff, and 5 is like complete disinterest. And I'll say, I'll like the counterpoint, like one of my number 5s, I think Kung Lao was a sleeper hit for me. I couldn't be any less interested, and I've played him a little bit, and I've had like way more fun. I would rank him, he would be like a 2 for me right now.
I think for the most part, like, yours are not, like, you know what you like, and I'm like, Melina's number 1, Ashra's number 1, Natara's #1. Like all characters you ended
Yeah,
up
yeah.
playing. Like you're,
And I played all 3 of them. Yeah, yeah.
and I was completely the opposite. Like Lee May was #1, Baraka's #1.
That's so funny. Yeah,
Natara was also
you
#1.
got sort of screwed. You got
Everything that
screwed.
I was hyped for was just didn't
Well,
end
it's
up
like
being it.
Sindel was 2. Sindel was 2 for both of us, and we both played Sindel. I tried to main Sindel before I ended up maining Molina. Uh, I started day 1 Ashra, and I gave up after a couple days. I was like, okay, I'm not. I don't have the fundies for this sort of character.
Right.
You know, I need some slop I can throw around, right? And like whatever, and reinforce all my bad habits. So I went to Sindel, who sort of did that to me, but not really. And then, went on the Molina, and let's get good. But I really did. Anyway, so Sindel, you ended up playing as well. You
Yeah, I had
still
her
agree,
as
like it
2.
too.
Yeah, Sindel. Scorpion was a little bit of a sleeper for me. Didn't have him as my lowest, but I'm just looking at my 5s right now. I think I only have 2 of them: Johnny Cage and Kenshi, which I didn't even. I don't think I've even taken Kenshi to lab.
No,
Just didn't interest me
Kenshi's
at
one
all.
of my only like level 1 characters that I just never even use. The only reason he even has any XP is like when they force you into it in invasions, they force you to use a
Right.
specific character.
Like a quick draw event or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Melina was another one that I played that I didn't expect myself to play. I didn't have her like super low, but didn't see myself playing her, but I gave her a shot. She was fun.
Yeah, the only thing that stands out to me, like Tanya would probably not be a 1, Tanya's a 2, and Geras would probably also be a 2, and I had him at 4.
Yeah.
Those are characters I've spent time with, and I don't like really like know thoroughly, right? But you've learned some stuff and played some matches. Not a lot of time spent, but definitely like interest. There's a lot of good, especially with some of the recent changes. It really re-sparked my interest in a couple characters.
Man, I'm just looking at this and just thinking back all the anticipation for the game and what we got and that kind of a stuff. Oh man.
I know, thinking, does it make your belly hurt? You feel a little anxiety when you think about that?
A little bit. I remember I remember the copium that I had when I like powered up the game and I was like, what? No online practice? What, no lobbies? What?
I know, it's surely just server latency or something, right? Coming soon. They just need another week to get the servers online or like whatever they need to do to make that happen.
Turns out they needed a year. But we're getting it. So, I mean, a fun thing that we wanted to go over, which I'm actually pretty excited for, is talking about like our top 3 teams over the course of the first year. Because we played a lot. Do we want to start with number 3, go up to number 1, or
no? Let's start with like our main. So what after all of this and the anticipation, and now we're like, let's say a couple weeks to even a couple months like into the games, like, and you're settled now and you have like a main team. Who would you say was your most mainish team, roster character and cameo for year 1?
I would say I'd have to go with, I think, Quan Motaro. I think that was the team that I felt just had the most synergy, could do the most things that Quan wanted to do. The 850 health does suck, but I've always said, does it really suck if you never get hit? Like, that's the idea. So I think at the end, like, I had the most fun with them. I think that's the best team. I had a lot of fun labbing. Combos off of standing 4 are fun. So I think that would probably be my top team that I had, which is surprising because I thought Shujinkydink would be in there somewhere, but he's not far behind. But
no.
What about your top team? Year 1, what do you got?
My year 1 top team, like most time spent, like obvious choice to me is Molina Sector. Something about that team like really just clicked with me, and I love the mix-ups you get off of it, and I love how you can kind of like just harass people moving around neutral with low size a lot more. Like just even a little bit of hit advantage from low psi, timed with a missile, and you recover and hit them with another low psi. Then the combos into the missile, and that combos into a ball roll, and it's just another way to like harass people in neutral that are just trying to like walk away from you, right? Kind of trying to like pin them down. It's really fun. It's not her best cameo. They have a lot of synergy. I played Mavado a lot with her as well, especially like recently, who I feel like is objectively a better cameo, but I just like the I just feel like Sector is. I'm just really comfortable with it. It's like a comfortable pair of leather boots.
Well,
You know?
Sector gives you that safety, right? She's usually so unsafe on things, and he's just comes in and keeps, he's got your back. You want to throw out a random low side? Sure, go for it. I got you. Missile coming in afterwards. If it hits, boom, combo. I was watching that this morning when you're playing blue.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's like having like your actual setups, right? Like I know I have the hit advantage, I know I have the spacing. I've done this like a million times, but there are, you get into like a rhythm like with your team and you're like freestyling, like you are mixing them up, but you're just kind of going with the flow, like on the spot, like that loci thing I was like talking about. I know that it works, but it's like you just start experimenting with stuff, and then it's like hard to define the timing. You just kind of like get a feeling for it. It's like such a cool ebb and flow. I love the way that team pairs together. So that's definitely my number one for year one.
Man, the feeling of just getting like a confirm that you like never get, or like just coming up with something new that's the dopamine right there. I love that feeling.
That's what I love about Movado. Movado has that. He does that for every character, but it feels just Melina gets so much from Movado.
So that's our main team. We're going on to secondary teams now, I guess.
Yeah, like your second most played. So that's the team you want to play, the team you identify with, you vibe with the most, like sort of thing. Like in a perfect world would be the only team that you played or you needed to play. And then what about your second string team, right? You need a break from your main team, like whether you think that it's like better for some matchups, or I don't know, sometimes it is your main for like a month or a season or something like that, and stuff like that. Who would you say is like your runner up, like right on the ankles of your number one team?
Yeah, so definitely secondary team is Sindel Shujinko for sure. I played that for the third season of Kombat League, I think, and it was also my Evo team. So this was like my competitive team, in my opinion. Like if I was going to play to win, that's the team I was using. It was Shujinko's best pairing, and Sindel's a top tier character on top of that. I did very well at Evo with that. 65th out of 650 people is pretty good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that was a lot of fun, and she just gives Shujinko so many cool things he can do. Like, because she has that Scream restand, it doesn't matter what his steal is, she can turn it into a big-ass combo and get 400 damage every time into...
Just off of any stray hit, right? Standing one anti-air, or like literally anything.
Literally anything. So it's just a lot of fun and allows for a lot of creativity, and the utility that he gives her helps fill a lot of the gaps that she has in other things. So I think it's...
And she fills in a lot of his gaps and stuff too, right?
It's
like
true.
She has all of her own sort of stuff. Like, man, Sindel is a really, really good character. She's very good. She's very scary.
She is one character that, if I had to guess, probably remains unchanged going forward. I think she's just solid.
She feels pretty complete.
Yeah, she's solid without being too exploitative, I guess, of the game's features. Not like something like Homelander or something like that. But like she's just good. She's good because she requires like some good execution, good knowledge, good timings and stuff behind her. She's not just a bunga bunga throw things out kind of a character. I mean, I sound super biased because I play her, but I mean, I am, I guess. On to your secondary team, Hater. What would you say is, you've played so many teams, I can't even keep up with this year. I don't even know who your number 2 is going to be.
I've been floating around the roster the last, I don't know, month or two or whatever. My number 2 team, without a doubt, is Natara Frost. Like, finally, they buffed Frost and Natara at like the same time. And I'd messed with Frost a lot, but never Natara. Even though I was too like, I don't want to deal with that air dash shit. And like her combo paths, before they basically made the dive kick launch meterlessly. I didn't know life before that. So anyway, I'm a newbie Natara, but she's mad fun. And the way that her neutral works and her health back and whiff and dive kicks and median overheads and wall setups into blood sacrifice, and you just play the character. She's really fun because no one plays like her. You experience the game a completely different way. The only thing that's like the same, right? You're within the confines of the game, of course, right?
Right.
And then your opponents, obviously your opponent, but the way that you navigate, the way that you play, she has like a really shitty down one and a really stubby, shitty like standing one that like leads to damage, like a meterless combo, but dude, it just whiffs. You miss like so many punishes, but you get so much damage off of dive kick. Just whiff, like dive kick
It's
is your
insane.
whiff punisher, right? It is insane, and it is so fun. Her combos are so fun, and there's just a lot of she's got enough tricks up her sleeves and some really easy hit confirms, and she's kind of meter intensive, but she builds so much. I feel like I always have it when I need it. I feel like, I don't know.
It's very annoying.
She's very fun. She's very, very fun.
She just deletes my health bar in 2 combos. If she starts to lose the life lead, she's gaining her health back through blood sacrifice. The odd time I'll get a bone thrown to me and you'll kill yourself with blood sacrifice.
Yeah.
It happens to the best of us.
But like I jump forward and I'm at full screen. I jump forward to go into an air dash, right? And you try to standing for me as Quan Chi, but I jumped forward. It didn't track me.
Yep.
You were at so much recovery. I am just, floating there, right? And that is even if I can't land a dive kick because of where I am in the air or something like that, I can just jump again and dive kick, and you're still in recovery. That's still a punish. So that's
sucks.
That's Quan Chi has a lot of recovery on his dive kick, but that's a very hyperbolic example. But you do shit like that. I don't know how many whiffed pokes I've punished with a dive kick, or like literally anything.
It's so fast. It's so fast. You can just get it out. Like you see it, react to it, boom, dive kick, there it is. And then 500 damage, easy, into, some sort of a setup, or guess again, bro, in the floating overheads. Overhead in the forward 1, frost low. Hits me every time. I don't even think it's real, but hits me every time. I'll always be hit by that.
It's not real. It's not real at all. Don't let anyone anybody out there, don't let any of them do that to you.
Don't be me. Be better than Dink.
Not only is it fuzzy, like the forward 1 doesn't have enough special or doesn't have enough cancel advantage to even get it to start up. So if you just challenge the forward, like you risk taking the overhead from it, right, and getting knocked down. But
I'll take that over a full combo. You know what I'm saying?
You were saying that forward 1 looks just like her throw, and that's why you just hold it all day. Or you challenge against it, you get opened up by it. I mean, because you're trying to duck under the throw.
Trying to duck under the throw.
I didn't even notice that.
There's a tip for Unitara players out there. Use your throws. Mix in your forward 1 and your throw. Little auto shimmy kind of deal there.
All right, we have a third category, and then we'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah, so team number 3 was a bit of a sleeper pick for me. I kind of had this when I was, I entered an online tournament. I did poorly. I was emo in the moment. I'm just rolling around the character select screen, picking all. I'm like, I'm just gonna play Homelander Farah. I don't even care anymore. Blah blah blah. And then I started messing around with Scorpion. Young Scronpion, probably a character I never would have seen myself play, but as soon as I started messing around with him and Shujinko, and I was like, wait a minute.
He has that same restand that you get from Sindel.
You get from Sindel, exactly. So he can do like the same kind of idea, and he gets kind of like, not exactly traditional Rekkas, but kind of this weird little Rekka thing with his forward 3-4 or forward 4-3 into Shujinko as well. Is he going to stomp after the first hit? Is he going to stomp after the second hit? Is he going to do it, cancel it into Shujinko kick? Is Shujinko going to do a move after that? And there's like 4 opportunities there for a throw. And then
right, and Shujinko comes out and just starts meditating right in your face, and you just stand there like an idiot, and then you just take another turn. That's my favorite part of that sequence.
Yeah,
while you're busy respecting that whole string of shit, like he just nothing. The no mix up.
The no mix up. It's a thing. So yeah.
And this is like a late in the very late year 1, and that's kind of what this category is for, right? The ones that still got some time and maybe picked up only like a don't have as much time as like the other 2, but still like honorable mention, right? Played a lot more in definitely like maybe the last quarter of the first year.
Yeah, I would say, I think after Evo was kind of, between Evo and now is kind of when I've been playing him and messing around with him. And I still have fun. Usually if I go online, I'll kind of want to play him over Quan. Like Quan's my number 1. I want to play Quan the most, but he's not fun. It's not fun to lose all the time. Sometimes, cool. Not all the time.
Yeah, I don't know who I want to play. That's a big problem I have right now, personally. I don't know who I want to play all the time. I
Well,
feel paralyzed by choice, but also not captivated by anybody like strongly enough. But we
well,
have 3 new characters coming.
that's true. She'll get one of them. Who was your third team who have you been playing to kind of kill the time the last little while?
My honorable mention team is Ashram Avado. It's very, very fun.
Yeah.
I'm just not of all the characters I quote, I'm using my finger quotes here. Of all the characters I play, she's definitely my weakest, but I still try sometimes because when it's fun, and when it's just like I don't know, I I still don't quite understand how to react and make decisions with that character as much as you're whiling around with dive kicks with Natara and doing Melina things or whatever. And Ashra's a very kind of like almost like stoic. I really like hell mode, and this is why I like Mavado, is that he gives her a lot of access to hell mode, like in the middle of combos, to set up some orbs. So you establish that threat, you can stay in the hell mode and start doing some astral projection pressure, which is, in my opinion, like if my interest in if I made like a little pie graph of the fun factor of Ashra things, most of that graph is back forward 2 while you're in hell mode. Like that is,
Right.
once you get rolling with that, if you can get into somebody's head, that is the joy of playing that character to me. But when I'm like stuck trying to like work my way in, and Mavado's not a great cameo choice for that sort of thing, right? Like you've got the like back cameo where you can like he does the slappy together, the fuck neutral move.
I hate that
You have
move
that,
so much.
but I'm not very good at that. Finding that optimal spacing, and I'm whiffing forward twos all over the place. I don't know. I should play a character like that to like really try to reinforce the things that get rewarded from that sort of play, because I think it's really solid, and that's why she's so scary in the right hands. But
Yeah.
my Asha's not very scary, but she's very fun.
Stepping out of your comfort zone is one of the better ways to improve as a player. Playing a play style that you don't usually play, like you were saying with the Natara thing, right? Like you're not into characters like that, play like an anime type style, flying all over the map kind of thing. But you got into it, and you're actually excelling pretty well at it. So
It's pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. I like the air dashing and stuff, and I like to. And I mean, and back to Ashra for a second. She's the very first character. She's the character I was determined to main, like on day one, or who I thought that I was going to, like my very very first choice.
do you remember what
So
turned you off of her right away? I remember there was something, but I don't remember
I
the
just couldn't
specifics.
get any. I just couldn't get a game started. Like I just felt like I was missing something that everyone else was. Like I literally did not win a game for like the first day and a half, and it's not about wins and stuff, right? But I felt like I wasn't. Something just wasn't clicking with it, and I was like, okay, is this a me problem, or maybe just sometimes you just don't gel, you don't vibe with the character, even if you want to play them. I just started messing around with some other characters. That's when I started learning a little bit of Sindel, and I was like, holy shit, this is so different.
Right.
And so I spent like a week on Sindel, and I was like, okay, well maybe not. And then once I started dabbling with Melina, and then I was like torn between those 3 characters. You get to the point where it's like, okay, I've got to choose one. I've got to learn the game with the character. And I just chose Melina and just, stuck with it. And
Yeah, the old Shang Tsung Shujinko days, man. I think I'm going to go back to that. Speaking of that, we should get some. Let's gauge our anticipation here for year 2 on things. Like
oh yeah, so that was year 1, right? Where do we see ourselves?
So we've recapped year 1. We went over our excitement and all that kind of things, the things that happened and all that kind of stuff. Year 2, let's start with the new characters. So we've kind of hinted at a little bit, but like starting with like rating Cyrax, Sector, and Noob. You go first, Hater. Which rate these in your hype level, and maybe a short explanation of why it is that way.
Man, this is the biggest gradient for me. I feel like it changes like every day.
That's a good thing, though.
I would say the biggest sleeper for me is going to be Cyrax, because I went from like, I've never really been interested in Cyrax, but the more I've thought about it, as time goes on, I get more and more excited about Cyrax. And I feel like Sector's the inverse of that. I was really excited at first, but my very first thing that I'm going to try is probably Cyrax Frost. I just want to press buttons and stuff. And then I'm going to try Sector Sub-Zero and just press some buttons. And then I'm going to try Noob and something, and then just kind of see who just felt the best in my hands, right? The least awkward. You know how it is, like when you start clicking with a character, like you kind of get like that hunger, like, okay, now how can I get a
Yep.
little bit more into this? Or, oh, I bet this could lead to this. As you start putting the wheels start turning, you start putting pieces together, even without looking at anybody else's text, right? Like just kind of, just how the characters design the real basics. So that'll determine, and it could be a character that already exists that just got changed in the patch, like Tanya or like whoever. So I would say Noob 1, Sector 2, Cyrax also 2, and then
Wait
other
a minute.
characters also 1. So I have no 3. And I added a 4th. That's
You
my final answer. What about
wow.
you?
Wow. All right. Hater really turning this experiment on its head. So mine is pretty cut and dry. My feelings towards things have been pretty forthcoming, I think. I would say Noob is the one I'm least hyped for. I'm hyped for his design. I'm hyped for Noob players. Like, congratulations, he looks great. Not something I probably will end up going with. And then Cyrax is second. Some cool things, might mess around with, but probably not. And then, of course, Sector is probably the main one that I really want to try out. I'm curious about that flamethrower restand and how that works. I'm wondering what kind of Shujinko shenanigans we can get up to with that. Like,
What are you going to do if you feel like she has no synergy with Shujinko? Would you try a new cameo with her first, or would you move on to a different character to try with Shujinko?
ideally, in a perfect world, Quan gets the changes that he needs, and at this point, I have no idea what those changes are. Must somebody please make them? And then I play Quan Shujinko. That year 2, if that is viable right off the bat, I will never touch another team again, outside of just for fun or whatever. If Sector does not mesh well with Shujinko, I probably won't even bother with her unless there's something crazy that can make her a really, really fun zoner, because she does look like she has some zoning things, and could actually be kind of annoying full screen. But until I get my hands on her, I don't know for sure. So, an ideal world, year 2, recap, play Quan Chi Shujinko. Maybe, if there are some matchups, I put Shang and Shujinko back, and I go back to my original idea of making the Deadly Alliance, which I think is kind of lore accurate, as long as they're, both viable characters. But that's kind of like my ideal. If Sector doesn't vibe with Shujinko, I probably won't even really take her much out of. But she's got to do something. Shujinko got some nice changes, some nice buffs. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to that. I don't even know if that's all that he got. Maybe they nerfed him in some way. Maybe they took away the 100 health that he gives you. That would really suck. I'd be really sad about that because Quan needs it. Unless they give it to Quan.
Do you think that Cyrax Shujinko, like say Cyrax Shujinko versus Ermac, whoever, like Ermac Janet probably. Well, who knows after the patch, but
right.
Like in that situation, do you think he would enable more setups, or do you think he'd be redundant? Like the Ermac sort of steals, do you think?
I mean, it's hard to say for sure, I guess, but just thinking about the tools that Cyrax has, like with the net and whatnot, I'm still like scratch my head at that air net that like splats you on the ground. I still don't really know what you're supposed to do with that, but I don't know, maybe some setup or something.
I think a Movado trap might do something there.
That might be an idea.
I don't know what else. They kind of like just did a back 4 or something, or some low pokes while they're on the ground, just showing that they could still be hit.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know what that's supposed to be. If that's supposed to be a launcher, like super extra hit advantage, maybe you're not supposed to extend off of it, but it's like a Sub-Zero freeze that you can't combo from, but they're still stuck, right? So that's like some setup time or whatever. I don't know. I'm interested to see for sure.
Yeah, I can only really, we can only really speculate until it comes out. So I'm just excited to get my hands on the new Shujinko changes. They haven't shown anything off for Quan, and I doubt at this point they will until Tuesday. It's usually I'm like a huge like lore guy, and I love like I would be more excited to go through the story before anything else, but man, I just want to hit the lab. Like I'm interested in the story, don't get me wrong, but like this is like one of the few times where I've kind of just been like, I just want to go and like do some stuff and see what changes are there before I go through and complete the story, which is usually backwards for me.
I'll do the story eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying that's backwards from what you normally do.
Yeah, like the first thing I did when MK1 came out was go through the story. That's the very first thing that I did. And don't get me wrong, I probably still will do that for Chaos Reigns. It's hard to say when exactly that update will be available, because sometimes with their patches, there's some downtime and inconsistencies when it actually releases. Because I'd like to schedule that on my YouTube and do it live, but we'll see. Either way, I'm excited for the story and see how things shake out. And yeah, that secret character that Boone was talking about. I feel like Cyber Smoke would be too obvious. Maybe.
You think?
I don't know. I'm expecting something a little bit more obscure than that.
Wasn't he a secret character before in some game?
Maybe in Ultimate MK3 or something. I don't remember. I'm not good with those older games.
I'm not either.
Deception
I'm
and
an
Armageddon.
embarrassment when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Deception and Armageddon I'm good with, and like everything past that. But before that, no, I was just a small child. I didn't play anything that seriously, and really don't have much of a reason to do so these days. But I can't really think of any other like buffs or changes or nerfs that I've seen. Hopefully some adjustments. I still think Pharah needs like a little bit more of a slap on the wrist. Like the damage that she gives you for the safety that she has, like make that low just a little bit more unsafe. Like -13 or something, you know? Like I feel she's still a little bit obnoxious. I don't know. You played around with her more than I have, but I don't know if you've messed with her recently at all, or especially since her last changes.
Yeah, I did a bunch at the beginning, but I haven't done it recently. I won't play her like actively on any of my. She's not an active member of any of my teams or anything.
Yeah.
But I fight against her every so often, and I agree. Negative. Dude, it just goes so far, right? -10 like means nothing unless she's like right up on your junk, which I think is kind of like the point. But to your point, it probably needs to be a little bit more unsafe than that.
I mean, yeah, there's no. I mean, you lose your turn, I guess, but I mean, it's a pretty strong mix off of pretty strong, situations you can get it into.
Full combo. It should definitely have more risk, especially since the neutral jump punch is, neutral or sometimes plus.
Yeah.
The overhead's safe. I mean, it's slower. That's the one that's probably going to get punished, or if it gets called out.
Right.
That one's like more vulnerable because it's slower, so it's safer. And you get like a better gravity off that combo, I think too. Like a better bounce. It's not as tight as the low.
Right.
But I don't know. Yeah, she should definitely. There should be some more risk. Like it should be like a Sub-Zero slide, Melina ball roll. Without like say a cameo covering those options.
Yeah, I kind of agree. At the end of the day, I just hope that it's like there's always going to be a meta to fighting games, but I just hope there's more options than we've ever had leading up to this point. That like people can have more freedom to play who they want rather than just you need to play this one or two teams or this one cameo with this one character. You can only use Lee May with Scorpion. It only works like that. I hope for more open-ended opportunities with the game going forward.
Well, we need cameos to bring them tools that are just as strong that can compete. Right, because Scorpion gives Lee May the ability to launch off that 7-frame Punisher. If she spends the bar and access to like all of that damage. Yep. If she's going to give that up, it better be damn good. You know what I mean? And that's how these metas develop. And Scorpion in the back 3 into Pharah mix, game that's happening right now. Some characters end up with like really crazy like synergy, and I feel like they make those adjustments, right? They just come like down the line, but I feel like they notice and. Some of the adjustments they've made to cameos are definitely indicative of that, right? Like they're paying attention to how they're being played. They're like, nah, I don't think so. And then, Cyrax gets nerfed or Striker gets nerfed or, you get the like nerf buffs. This is worse, but here's something new or here's something better. Maybe try to, use this more. And then you start to see the meta change a little bit, right? People move on to other cameos. So it's just, I feel like we're always going to have that. No matter what, it's just going to be a different version of it. It's a moving target.
I wonder if that's a reason they didn't include cameos, as far as we know, in this update, is like just to kind of flesh the game out around them a little bit more. Because there was definitely, cameo would release, that's the meta. Cameo would release, that's the meta. Like they happened with Chameleon, it happened with Janet, it happened with Pharah. So maybe they're just going to spend the next little while until the next thing that we get, assuming we get one.
Just let the dust settle.
Yeah, just like let the character flesh out the characters more, and then like just kind of adjust the cameos one way or another in the background. It's kind of what I'm
give them
wondering.
a better idea of like the kind of new ideas that they can introduce without like breaking things. And I think they've done that a couple times, and they're like learning lessons, you know, as it's going on, and you know, maybe a little bit more familiar with like how to anticipate the scaling, you know, from the whole Movado experience of having to nerf him like 3 times over now, and a couple other things, like when you give people access to that sort of damage, or this sort of block pressure, or this sort of like safety and stuff, and the kind of like counterplay or any sort of drawbacks. Or I feel like they think a lot about like, if we're going to make this really, really strong, what's going to make other cameos attractive? You need something with value that's closer to being equal.
Yeah, I agree. I am curious, just a little bit curious, if they're going to give Kano anything new, because
they showed his eye laser changed. They showed in the Kombat cast. It like hit like 3 times or something. I didn't notice it. I heard a couple of people talking about it. Like it looks like it's going to be like safe on block.
Oh, interesting. I didn't see. Probably. I didn't catch that, and I didn't see.
And it looked faster.
I wonder because it came out
and went wham wham wham, like it was like 3 really quick hits.
He's one of the OG cameos that only has like 3 moves. So I was wondering if they're going to give him something new, since they give Sonya something new.
I would expect everybody to have something new if they haven't already. So Goro already got, you know, something new, and so did Darius, and we know that Sector's getting the Mataro ability.
Oh yeah, the fatal blow.
To fatal blow, and it's full screen missile. So that's gonna be, maybe I'll play Molina Sector in year 2 again.
That could be some fucky stuff with Quan too. If he's zoning you try and jump, and then just boom, full screen projectile, fatal blow.
Yeah, standing for fatal blow. Let's go.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Look, yeah, you scheming. I'll have to hit the lab with that when it comes out. See if anything big changed there. We're getting close to the end of it here. There's one other thing that I thought we could do, which would be fun just to close this out. I'm looking at the roster here. Maybe we can pick, say, 3 characters, and what do you think their animality is going to be?
Oh, yeah.
Because ones that we haven't seen. So the first one that I picked, because I actually have 0 idea what this would be, and tell me if I'm pretty sure we haven't seen this one, but Johnny Cage. Like, what animal? Because they don't always pick ones that are like surprise, you know, like say, I don't know, like Scorpion turning into a scorpion, you know. I'm pretty sure they're not going to do that.
Natara turning into a bat.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure they try to be a little tricky on that. Like,
there is a Scorpion is going to be a scorpion. I think we've seen the scorpion, like an image of it anyway.
Do you think that's going to be Scorpion, or do you think that's going to be somebody else?
They can't. They did that before, didn't they? And they made Scorpion a penguin?
Yeah, Scorpion was a penguin,
and Shiva turned into a scorpion or something.
Yeah, so like maybe...
Oh, no, they shouldn't do that.
I don't know. Well, like Johnny Cage, what animality do you think Johnny... It could be literally anything, but like if you had to... Do you have a guess at what it could be?
Kangaroo or something, and he boxes you, or a chicken because he's a cock.
A chicken because he's a cock.
Yeah. Something swag, like what's an animal that would wear sunglasses? What's like an arrogant, like really confident, you know, it'd have to be like something really alpha.
I think I think that they could take that idea, but like kind of make it funny. Like I'm thinking like King of the Jungle, like a lion kind of a thing with like the sunglasses, but like it's actually like a cub, like a lion cub, and then just like mauls you or something, you know, like with the shades on and everything. I don't know if they go that route, but
yeah, I don't know what Johnny Cage would be. I actually haven't even considered him. I don't like to spend time thinking about Johnny Cage, so that's the first I've even thought about it.
That's why I picked him.
That's a good one. I don't have any good ideas for that one. I don't think any good guesses.
What about Havoc? Have we seen anything?
Havoc, we already know. He's the hyena.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Baraka seems to be the one that they're beating up in all the Animalities. I don't know what they have against Baraka. What would you? He's already kind of a beast in his like own self. I feel like he would turn into something kind of cute and cuddly, like a koala or a sloth or something. Something along those lines.
Sloth Baraka. That would be
Sloth
so
Baraka.
funny. I don't know. I feel like teeth are so much a part of his character's identity, and I was kind of thinking that reptiles might be him just based on the teeth in the plant, right? Because it's a prominent feature, even though, I mean,
Oh,
that makes
yeah.
sense with reptile. But I was, in my mind, he was kind of a candidate just because of that. So what would be a good option? One that has big, like,
You do like a
dude, like an
piranha.
anglerfish.
Oh, an
Yeah,
angler.
piranha or an anglerfish or
Anglerfish
something
is
that has big
funnier.
old, yeah, big old distended teeth or whatever.
Because we've seen in the Takeda one, they have no problem going underwater. That was such a sick
and then
animality,
they
though.
just want to reuse the assets, right? We might have a series of water creatures, which I'm not opposed to.
No, that'd be
That
cool.
Takeda one looked sick. Like, that was impressive.
That's my favorite one so far. It is super duper cool. Just the animations, everything. It's amazing. I love it.
I like Melina's because I'm a little biased, but it also, like, her as a mantis, because like mantis, like, and when they mate, the female eats the head of the male, right? Kills it and eats its head for
Right.
I don't know, the nutritional value or whatever.
That's a fitting one.
It just fits. I feel like that fits Melina so well.
And finally,
Even without like the brain sucking fatality and stuff, right? It's just something she would do.
Yeah. And finally, we've got to go with the obvious one, Quan Chi.
Oh, we know Quan Chi is we think. I would say it's the bone one, right? The Tyrannosaurus Rex. I don't think that's been confirmed, but the big dinosaur bones, the T-Rex bones, I bet that's Quan Chi.
I kind of had
someone pointed out to me.
I kind of had that pegged more for Shang, honestly, but I think I'm just thinking of because his laboratory has them in there that I kind of associate those two.
True. I think people are anticipating that's Quan because of the bones, right? And he's got all the bone, like the skeletons in his strings and stuff. That'd be kind of like a Quan thing, maybe.
That makes sense.
Maybe it's old ass withered. What do you think Ermac's going to be? Not to change the subject or change the character.
Ermac, I feel for some reason like I feel like he's got to be the same color as whatever he turns into, like maybe a snake, like a red snake with like a come out and just chomp your head off kind of idea, or like constrict you and your head pops off. Classic kind of thing. That's what comes to mind. And then I'm curious about like Omni-Man because they mentioned him specifically on the Kombat cast, so I'm kind of curious. They've piqued my interest.
Do you know what I think Omni-Man's will be? This is like my hot take, which I think is probably a more obvious guess anyway, but it's got to have something to do with this. I bet you anything it's a walrus because of his mustache. He's going to turn into a fucking walrus, and he's just going to, whether it's blunt force or like, who knows what he'll do to you, right? But I'm gonna guess. Put me on the record for guessing walrus for Omni-Man.
Does a walrus have a mustache? Is that a thing?
Yeah, they do, like in cartoon caricatures, because they have the big long whiskers and stuff, right? You see,
that's
mustached
true.
walruses, like usually like in a caricature like sort of thing, but it's
That's pretty funny. I'm just picturing it now, walrus with like Omni-Man's big old mustache, like. That's an opportunity right there.
Let's go back to Quan real quick. What if he's not the T-Rex? What do you think Quan would be?
If he's not the T-Rex, I think, man, the hyena made so much sense with him because he's like a scheming kind of dude, like, but I guess that makes sense with Havoc too. I don't really know what he would be. I feel like he would be something kind of not like tough, but like regal almost, like some sort of a bird, like some sort of a really fancy bird. Just like
birds are kind of regal, right? Like we were talking a little bit before the podcast, like Sindel maybe I don't know, a dove or a swan or something.
A swan would make sense.
I wonder if Ashra, I bet Ashra is going to be like a swarm of doves, right? Like
a Canadian
like that,
goose.
And then he'll come in and massacre you.
The big old Canadian goose, the scariest bird on the planet. Those things are terrifying. If you've ever been chased by one of those, you're just like, all right, I'm going to start writing the eulogy. This is over. They are so aggressive. Oh my God. I hate those things. I could totally see like somebody turning into that. That one specific goose. If you don't know it, look it up. They're
Cobra, what do you think Lee May is going to be?
I don't know, because I mean, she's got all that kind of lion imagery in her moves, right? I feel like that could be a little bit too, I don't know. But she's like a
I think Conan the Barbarian is going to be a lion. You know, he's going to have a big mane, like, sort of thing. Big alpha, right? Top of the food chain sort of thing. That's my guess for Conan.
I mean, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Well, I think we went on everything that we wanted to talk on today. So year one, that's it. Year one, Mortal Kombat 1. Bring on year 2.
Year 1, Mortal Kombat 1. Pop the champagne. We made it. Oh my God. Through trial and tribulation, we're here.
Through desyncs and coming soons and blank warrior shrines and all that kind of stuff, we made it. We made it to what should have been the release game.
Yep. But we're here, and that's what matters at this point. So we'll see how it shakes out. We'll know in a couple days.
Yeah, let me know in the comments there what you're most excited for. What, of course, anything we went over today. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, because it really helps me out. And subscribe if you haven't, because I make new videos almost every single day. Hashtag Bonehawks, all that stuff, and we'll see all you Bonehawks in the next video.
Accept your death.